All right, a rainy day at Fenway Park in Boston. The Red Sox had another late arrival from the West Coast. More plane issues, so they didn't get in till this morning. Craig Breslow was not on that trip to the West Coast. So it's a good thing. He's been on the phones all day. A busy day for the Red Sox, who have announced 2 deals so far today, and there are reports of a 3rd deal with another 21 minutes and 22 seconds remaining until the trade deadline comes and goes. We are here to cover it all for you as we welcome you into our Salem 5 studios. It is the NESN Trade Deadline special. Tom Caron, along with former general manager J.P. Ricciardi, Rob Bradford, and Alex Speier here as well. Craig Breslow decided he was going all in. Move the chips out to the middle of it. Let's make some deals. 3 deals so far today. We'll start over there, Alex, with you. Knowing there's another half hour to go, what do you make of what Craig Breslow has done today?
Yeah, well, I think that the Red Sox have been criticized a lot of times in the past for their reluctance to deal prospects at the trade deadline. Can't make that argument in this one. They've been willing to put some pretty big chips on the table because they clearly have a significant amount of belief in what the 2026 Red Sox can do. Adding in a centerpiece like Rutschman is seen as being a big enough needle mover that this was something they were willing to keep pushing on. And they continue with just under half an hour left before the deadline to explore the market for shortstops.
Couple of late moves today since we came on earlier with the breaking news of the Adley Rutschman trade. Red Sox have gone out and got Eli White, the outfielder from the Braves. Eric Miller, the lefty reliever who were working on photoshopping Red Sox caps onto their heads, so we'll get to that. But Eric Miller, it has not been announced, but reports are that Eric Miller from Marcelo Meyer. Eric Miller, lefty, who's had a good season for San Francisco, has 3 years of control, so a guy they think can be part of their bullpen going forward.
Yeah, in a vacuum, okay, you get the lefty reliever. That's one thing that they thought that they needed, and you say good for them. But Marcelo Meyer, let's take a step back. Oh, my goodness, Marcelo Meyer. 2 years ago, a year and a half ago, he was part of the big 3, Christian Campbell and Roman Anthony, and now where we're at. There's no way around this trade being defined by how far Marcelo Meyer fell in the eyes of the Boston Red Sox. It's kind of incredible. Even this year, you go back to spring training, there was some hope that he was going to grab the second base job, and he never really did. He continued to get hurt. The upside just wasn't enough for them to say, we're going to keep riding out this. We're going to count on you for this World Series run. What this became was, once again, along the theme of the entire day, this is World Series driven. Everything they're doing, this isn't about holding on to Marcelo Meyer because we think that he might be depth. No, we're getting a lefty reliever because we need this in order to get to where we want to go.
You're San Francisco. You were out there with that organization. What can you tell us about the reliever they are getting in here, Miller?
You know, he's a nice piece to have in the bullpen. I think for Marcelo Meyer, you could have probably done a little better. And maybe more in the sense of prospect for prospect, and maybe gotten some kind of reinvigorated your system with some of the young players that you gave up. So I agree with Rob. I mean, boy, have the mighty fallen. It also tells me that they really wanted to get this guy out of the system because I don't think they really got a tremendous amount back. Serviceable piece, but interesting, really interesting.
It was the big 3, right? And it wasn't Christian Campbell. The big three was Anthony, Meyer, and Teal. Teal's been traded away as part of the Crochet deal. Looks like Meyer is being traded away. Again, not official yet, and there's talk about medicals, and we know that Meyer's had some medical issues, so we'll see how that all plays out. But something that you thought maybe was the core of this franchise going forward for a long time to come is essentially down to Roman Anthony.
I mean, it's shocking because you think back just to this past offseason, and the Red Sox were not willing to include Marcelo Meyer in a deal for Ketel Marte, which is why that deal fell apart. And the fact that they are now moving him for a left-handed reliever, even one who has great numbers in terms of like elite swing and miss, the type of stuff that you love to have in October, represents a pretty startling turn of events involving a player whose ceiling is really compelling, but who has really struggled to be able to stay on the field.
But in the spirit of J.P. Ricciardi, we will not talk about who's leaving. We will talk about who's coming, at least for a few minutes. So let's look at it in its entirety, right? You're getting the two catchers, essentially, from Baltimore, but you're getting Rutschman. You're getting the outfielder, Eli White, from the Braves, and you're getting the reliever, Eric Miller, from the Giants. If you're not getting anything else, what did you accomplish today if you're Craig Breslow?
You added an all-star everyday catcher in the middle of the lineup that you can lengthen out the lineup. When he's healthy, he's a really, really plus player. Just that in itself is a major, major upgrade, both defensively and offensively. You're building the spine of your club, which is what this catcher, second base, shortstop, center field, you keep solidifying that. I love what they did. The other stuff, the ancillary pieces, they add to what you have, but he's the key to the trade.
Yeah, and I think that if you walk into that clubhouse, we've said this before, where there's nobody in that clubhouse who's going to be like, I can't believe you made those moves. Probably even with the Marcelo Meyer move, because it is what it is. Like, you want to win this year, you needed this piece, you got that piece, no matter what Marcelo Meyer is going to be in the future. But when Adley Rutschman walks into that clubhouse, much like, by the way, when Curtis Mead walked in the clubhouse for a day and a half, it was, hey, all right, we get this. This is part of the equation. And I think for a team that earned the right to have these sort of moves, these sort of, not only the skill sets, guys, but the personalities and the cachet, that goes a long way to add on to what you've already been doing.
Adley Rutschman is a dude.
Yeah.
He has presence. You remember what it looked like when he made his major league debut in Camden Yards back in 2022, how he took that moment looking around, surveying the ballpark, nodding, and all of a sudden it was like, oh my goodness. I think the Orioles just entered a different phase of what they've been as an organization. So he's someone who arrived in the big leagues as kind of this guy who was supposed to be exactly that, JP, backbone of a championship caliber team. So certainly you can imagine him showing up with the Red Sox now and giving wind in the sails.
And another way, TC, to look at this, if I told you were getting Miller, White, and Rogers, and that was it, would you be that excited?
And that's it?
And that's it.
Yeah, I mean, you've improved. I mean, to me, it's Rutschman. The other two guys are great. You're not going to be excited about White or Miller if you're a Red Sox fan. They're nice. I like Miller. I like the relief help, get a lefty relief help. But you tell me this morning they're going to have Rutschman by the end of the day. I don't care what else happens. I'm all in, because you have brought, again, another adult in the room, a guy who's been to the playoffs, a guy who has helped lead a pitching staff through the postseason. Also, by the way, a cautionary tale, your story about Rutschman getting, because you thought at that moment, we are entering an era where the Baltimore Orioles are going to be the team to beat.
The Norfolk Tides were the best team in the history of baseball.
Right, that's why I don't sweat the prospects. Get the dudes who can get here and win now. Yeah,
there are no guarantees, even with incredibly talented young cores. I thought kind of throughout the process when we had the different permutations of the big three, first with Teal and then with Campbell, if you can get one superstar from that group, one above average player from that group, and then, that's a great yield. Like, there's a decent bust risk on at least one of those guys, and maybe more than that. There is a lot to be. Certainty is a powerful thing, even with guys who have enormous talent, enormous ceilings. And so this is the Red Sox buying into now, what you can get now.
I think what this whole day, and starting with the Mead acquisition, comes back to is that they woke up and they understood that they are a World Series contender. And maybe the Dodgers series helped define that even a little bit. But what these moves are, they're saying, we're going for it, because what we did see in the American League were some teams saying, we're kind of in it, but we really don't believe in our team. Now you're left with the Rays, always aggressive at the deadline. The Yankees, Houston made a nice little move, but not a lot of teams are in the position the Red Sox are. We're saying, no questions asked. We think that we can win this thing.
The Marcelo Meyer trade, again, not yet announced official, though we're hearing it has been agreed upon, so waiting for confirmation, unless you've got anything else on your phone yet. Okay, I see you looking over there, so feel free to raise your hand and stop us. But in the end, right, if you want to talk about who they've added in Rutschman and White and Miller, they've done it with minor leaguers and a guy on the IL. They haven't subtracted from the major league roster at all. They've added to it.
Which goes back to Rob's point. They're trying to win the World Series, and I think they're smart enough to realize the American League is very, very winnable. I think the American League East is very winnable and within grasp of them right now. So they are sprinting toward the finish line and think that they can win the American League. And kudos to them for going for it.
I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
And one of the things that you heard from scouts in the last couple of weeks is you heard names that went attached to big names like Ellie De La Cruz and Hunter Green and whoever else. But one thing that you continue to hear, like they're talking about minor leaguers. They were never talking about guys who are going to impact this major league team in terms of giving up. And that was the constant theme of the Red Sox all the way to the Rutschman deal.
When the Red Sox start to put this all together and they bring together, and Rutschman comes in through that door, he's on the IL, they expect him to come off it fairly soon, but does that give you pause at all at the GM? You're getting a guy who can't play tomorrow. You know he's on the IL, you've looked over the medicals, and you got to lean on your staff to tell you he's going to be okay, but there's still some uncertainty there.
If the assurance from the medical people is that this is going to be a very small waiting period, I'm all in. I mean, I can wait a week, I can wait 10 days. I think the nice thing in their favor, and I hate to look past the team, but the A's are coming into town. You've already taken 3 out of 4 with the regular group you have, so you can give them a little bit more time. But if my medical staff is assuring me he's going to be okay, I have no problem with it.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
No, I mean, we go back to Schwarber. I mean, it's
Exactly.
See,
Yeah.
mind melding right here.
Right.
We go back to Schwarber. This is in that situation. It was you lost games. Everyone's panicking. Everyone's saying, "Y'all, you got us Hansel Robles and Austin Davis," but then out of nowhere, when it counted the most, you got Kyle Schwarber, the perfect fit. And I think that's what we're talking about here. And I don't know how you feel, Alex, about how long they're going to play this out with Adley Rutschman. I know that he was on the verge of doing an IL stint, but I would take my time. I think they can take their time, a couple weeks, get the right guy, go on your run.
Yeah, the baseline level of the production they've been getting, and they've been really good through it. We know what it is, and it had been really solid defensive work. Great work with the pitching staff by both Wong and Narváez, but not a lot of offensive production. Well, Wong has been hitting more than we've given him credit for at times, but Narváez had not been contributing offensively at all. So yes, they want the best version of Adley Rutschman.
And Jake Rogers can't hit, but he sure can catch.
Yeah.
And he's also another great guy in the clubhouse. For however long he's here, we don't know. But, another small piece of this equation.
Under 18 minutes until the trade deadline. If the Red Sox do not make another deal today, is Monasterio your shortstop for the rest of the season going forward, or are you hoping that Trevor Story will be back before the end of all this?
I think Monasterio is the default, but you're open-minded to that long list of guys who are rehabbing that no longer seemingly will include Marcelo Meyer as one of the possibilities. But between Connor Falefa and Story, you welcome whatever contributions they may be able to make if you don't make another move for a shortstop. But there's a reason why they have continued pushing on the shortstop position throughout the trade deadline.
When we sit here right now without any other deals, Franklin Arias remains in the organization. If he's the shortstop of the future and is staying, did that make Meyer that much more
there's no question about it. I come back to it. It's still shocking to me. I mean, we started talking about Marcelo Meyer, about the importance to the franchise when Bogaerts was here, about how he was going to line up with Bogaerts' contract, and when Trevor Story, what are you going to do when Trevor Story's here? We've been talking about this for years, and now obviously it's gone completely the other way. But I do think that the shortstop thing it's two things. Obviously, you hope that Monasterio keeps doing what he's doing, but you really hope that Trevor Story lands in a good place around the middle of September.
And one where he looks like the 2025 version, because I think that we now understand that the Trevor Story we saw through the first 2 months of this season was a shell of himself, because physically he was banged up from the time the season got underway. So we never got to see the good version of Trevor Story. So a healthy Trevor Story down the stretch, he can be a difference maker.
All right, let's go back to the Rutschman deal. And if we can bring that up again, the actual trade, what they gave up, the 4 players plus a player to be named later going to Baltimore for Adley Rutschman and Jake Rogers, catcher, coming back as part of that as well. A lot of people are saying it's an overpay. And I know, JP, you are firmly on the steal the prospects, use them to get the guy. When you look at what they gave up, though, and you can't help but start to think what the Dodgers had to give up for Tarek Skubal. Could you have gotten Skubal for this? Like, and if you want to go back to Detroit's side of it, did Detroit blow this by not waiting till today when the moves are hot and heavy and people seem to be overpaying for talent?
It's obviously hindsight. You know, you don't know what was happening with those other teams. Maybe they could have gotten Skubal. I don't know. But I think the fact that they've got pitching right now that's good, they needed another guy like this. I think the trade that they identified Rutschman, I think they got a really good guy and a really good fit. Everybody would love to have Skubal, but I don't know what the asking price was at the time. So I like what they did.
Eyanson and Witherspoon, their top two pitching prospects, are dealt. You've got Peyton Tolley and Jake Bennett up with the big club right now. So two of your five starting pitchers are young pitchers that you've developed. Is part of this the fact that they believe they are now able to develop pitchers, unlike in the past, where you can make moves like this because you think you can get other guys right behind them going soon?
Yes, I think the internal view is that the pitching pipeline is renewable. It's a renewable resource. They've been able to develop guys. They've been able to add value to a lot of guys. Connolly Early was a guy who came as a fourth-round draft pick and ended up being, a centerpiece, a one-for-one trade on a guy they expected to be a difference-making bat. Obviously, that's not going to be materializing until at least mid to late September in Curtis Mead, but they were able to help him develop. Peyton Tolley became something much more highly regarded than he was coming out of the draft. Eyanson is another great example. 1 year into his professional career, he's kind of leaped up prospect rankings. So yes, I do, and Bennett is another great example. So I do think that they believe that they are able to identify young pitching talent and work with it, and for that reason, there is a level of comfort there for them to be dealing from that strength.
Isn't it amazing how far they've come? Because we went about through, 10 years or so, where like, when's the last pitcher they've ever developed? And we kept defaulting to Eduardo Rodriguez, who was traded and put in Double-A. So it is a testament to them. And you go back to the Skubal thing. Number one, I am shocked they didn't wait. Like, I'm shocked that they didn't wait a little bit longer. Yeah. I don't, and I know they like the players. Now, at the same time, and maybe JP can speak to this, is that we obsess over, well, you didn't get this guy and he's ranked here. Well, it's subjective a lot of times. And also, what's the fit? There was no Zaire Hope in this trade. There was no, maybe they like River Ryan a whole lot more than these guys. A lot of this is subjective. A lot of this is fits. All I know is this: the Baltimore, as we said before, Baltimore needed these sort of guys, and so the Red Sox gave them to them.
Talk about that a little bit. The whole process of your internal rankings and projections versus what we all get to see. How much do you rely on what you think and as opposed to outside?
Yeah, I think the rankings sometimes are just foolish, to be honest with you. I look at something like 24 ranked, 20. I mean, you're almost ranking the whole organization at that point. To me, it's what do your scouts see, what do your scouts come back and tell you, and then you have got to watch some video as an evaluator and figure out, is this guy really what I'm seeing? Does this guy fit what we want to see? It all comes down to your ability to evaluate, and if you have good evaluators, you're going to make good decisions.
Can I just ask, would you goose the ranking, like try to,
of course, it happens all the time.
Try to,
it happens
pump
all,
John Sherholz.
It happens all the time. And it really happens when you watch the draft.
Yeah.
These guys are pumped up. You just read what draft was it you looked at? The 20?
Oh, the 18.
How bad was that? That was all first rounders,
A mess.
So prospects are just the ability to dream. The reality is Rutschman is a proven major league player. The proven major league players are what helps you win. The other guys, they let you live in la-la land.
The ability to hype up prospects is such an underrated thing for front offices.
Well, it's become real big in the current front office. They buy into the buildup and they buy into the control of these players that they can dream on. But to me, the proven major league players, you can put that in stone. What they are.
Only one player in this trade was an All-Star this year, I think. I have to double check on that. But
All-Star futures. Major league.
That's true.
Just over 11 minutes remaining until the trade deadline. Red Sox making moves today, no doubt about it. And if you you were furiously before writing down lineups and started projecting lineups. You throw Rutschman, if you get Curtis Mead back by the end of September, all of a sudden this is a very different lineup in the playoffs.
Think of that lineup in April and May and think of the lineup now. I mean, wow. you could actually bat Duran ninth. You can move him all the way down, so you almost have 2 leadoff hitters. You could take advantage of his speed down there, and you could do whatever you want in the middle of that lineup. But you've got some thump in the middle.
Well,
of it.
thump's the operative word there, right, guys? I mean, this is the biggest problem. They could not hit home runs. I think that they hit 3 home runs in 1 inning up until June 10th. They had hit 3 home runs in a single game just twice all year. They finally started to hit home runs. That's what Craig Breslow said in November in Las Vegas. We need to hit more home runs. We saw it in the postseason, and yes, that is a fact. I mean, this is how you win in the postseason, and I think now not only are they getting their current players to do it, but they get some other guys to do it.
Although Rutschman isn't a pure power hitter, right? Like Rutschman's strength is kind of more of a
I mean, I think I'm thinking if you get Meade back, you add Rutschman, who is more of a power hitter than Connor Wong, certainly. It's just incrementally you're getting more home runs, more power.
I just feel like the addition of power, there's like huge X factor, like a huge component of X factor that goes with it, because maybe they get Roman Anthony back and maybe he's hitting for power. Maybe they get Curtis Meade back and he's hitting for power. Maybe they get Trevor Story back and he's capable of hitting for power. There's not certainty in terms of there is some certainty in the power boost, right? Rutschman can drive the ball out of the park, especially right-handed, taking aim at Fenway. It will be very interesting to see whether or not they do become, whether or not they move up to being an above-average.
Well, put it this way. At second base, where Curtis Meade might be playing, Adley Rutschman, catcher, the power potential at those 2 positions is exponentially higher than it was.
Right,
along with, by the way, all of a sudden, Ceddanne Rafaela hitting home runs every other at bat.
And don't forget how well Durbin's playing. What you're trying to do when you build a lineup is you're trying to build a collection of critical mass, where everybody through the lineup is some threat in some way, shape, and form. When other teams looking at him, they're saying, that's an out, I could pitch around this guy to get to that guy. You can't pitch around a lot of guys now with this lineup.
All right, we are closing in on the trade deadline. We're going to take a break and come right back and bring you right through the top of the hour. 6 o'clock, pencils down, not yet. Last minute to finish those essays as we close in on the 6 p.m. deadline. All right, take a look at the newest members of the Red Sox coming in. Adley Rutschman and Jake Rogers, the 2 catchers from the Orioles, coming in. The blockbuster deal of the day. Eli White, the speedy outfielder, coming from the Braves with Tyler Uberstein. And Eric Miller, not officially announced, but all reports and everything we've heard is that the Red Sox are acquiring Eric Miller for Marcelo Meyer, that deal from San Francisco. Let's talk about the Eli White, because you kind of scratch your head and go, they got an outfielder. Didn't see that coming. Where does he fit in? I mean, Jahmai Jones has settled in pretty well as that fourth outfielder. They obviously have the three outfielders. Roman Anthony is rehabbing.
They're playing matchups, I think, the rest of the way. You could DH Jones, you could put White in left field, you could put Romy Gonzalez at second base. You could load this thing, sit Duran against left-handers, load this thing with right-handers against the left-hander, and just play matchups the rest of the way. Obviously, Rogers is going to catch until Rutschman comes back. Then he's probably going to go down to AAA. But they're really lining up to match up righty-lefty.
Also because, to your point, we talk about the division being in play now, right? And that you got to keep playing pretty close to the kind of baseball you've been playing to try to make up those 5 games with the Rays.
Right, and the other thing that we need to factor in is the Red Sox are also playing for depth, right? This is the trade deadline. There is no August 31st waiver deadline anymore, so this is it. And you have an opportunity, so you can kind of gerrymander the roster a little bit by optioning in some cases guys who need to go down. Maybe there's an injury or something that will require an IL stint. This is the opportunity to be able to, if you feel like Jahmai Jones is your last line of defense as a righty bat, you don't think Christian Campbell's going to necessarily be able to help this year, this is the way that you protect yourself.
And you talk about going for the division. I mean, let's look at the other teams here about what the Red Sox have. The Red Sox done more than these other teams, and it's interesting. I look at the American League, and yeah, there's been some moves like we talked about Jeff Hoffman in Minnesota, Houston with Varsho and those sort of things. But to me, it's the Rays, the Yankees, the Red Sox. They believe more than anything that they are going to face each other. They're going to compete with each other, not only for the division, but for the chance to go to the World Series. And that's what this trade deadline told me anyway.
All right, take a look at the standings here. A little over 2.5 minutes to go. But you talk about the Red Sox and where they stand in this whole thing. Remarkable. 6 weeks ago, you would not have dreamed of being able to talk about the wild card, let alone the division. You are firmly in control of that second wild card spot now. 4 up on the Guardians, 5 or more on the rest. You're also just 2 back of the Yankees in the loss column for that top wild card spot, and now just 5 out in the American League East. Now the Rays made a couple interesting moves. They think they have beefed up a little bit down the stretch. Got to catch it too. Liam Hicks, not quite Adley Rutschman, but they went out and addressed the offense a little bit after going and getting more pitching help, which they always seem to figure out a way to get the most out of their pitcher. We'll see what Freddie Peralta does for them. But this is a good old-fashioned American League East arms race now. These 3 teams, Rays, Yankees, and Sox, have all loaded up a little bit. The Yankees think they're going to load up when guys come back from the IL. They think they've got the power waiting if they can get Judge back, if they get Bellinger back, and I don't know about Stanton, but if they get him back as well. So it's going to be really interesting down the stretch in this division.
Throughout this year, we've spent so much time thinking about how mediocre the American League is, and I think that's been a very fair criticism. But now we get to see the flip side of it, which is that everyone thinks that they have a chance to win the pennant. And so you do have teams that had a heck of an incentive to be able to be active at the trade deadline, and thus this is a good deadline, right? We're seeing all-stars moving. We're seeing batting title winners. We're seeing Cy Young winners. We're seeing other guys who are like Gossman, who are top 3 Cy Young guys. This is a good one.
Oh, and it started early. I mean, this is like we said, we just sat here, even last year, other than the Joe Ryan social media graphic, you know,
We thank Fox Sports for that 30 seconds of joy.
Man, that was a flurry. My heart rate went through the roof for those 30 seconds. But then it was like the sad trombone of Dustin May. No offense to Dustin May, but I'm like, this has been totally different. And as I said, like there's been so many moves, but not only so many moves, but I guess from the Red Sox perspective, so many more impactful moves than, I don't know, when the last time have we seen the Red Sox have this many trade deadline moves of this caliber?
It's been a while.
18 Evaldi and Steve Pearce, I would say this one over that. 21 Schwarber and the relievers, I would say this one over that. It's been a long, long time.
Got to interrupt you here because we have the countdown. 5 seconds remaining. It's like the ball dropping in Times Square.
The fax machine isn't
Pencils
working.
down. Fax machines are jamming across baseball as we speak. You got something? You get your phone up.
Just checking. We'll see in the next 5 minutes.
Again, the annual reminder that 4 o'clock or 6 o'clock in this case, I still think 4 o'clock, 6 o'clock does not mean all the news has come in. It just means the deal has to be consummated.
I also think that you have until 6 o'clock and 59 seconds. I could be wrong about that.
Is that right?
They're making rules up now. I don't know.
If that's true, that would be the first time we've had that.
I know that used to be the case for the draft.
You had the
deadline.
full minute.
Yeah, you had
that.
Well,
minute.
I mean, in fairness,
Can you give us 54 seconds back on the clock, please?
this is the first time that we've been sitting here on August 3rd actually talking about trade deadline instead of reminiscing about how they didn't do anything for the last couple of days.
Also, it's usually July 31st.
Right.
So there's also, I thought that's where you were going. I'd like to thank Major League Baseball, by the way. Doesn't matter now, he's 30, but my son's birthday is July 31st. They traded Nomar on his birthday, traded Manny on his birthday. Who are they trading on my birthday today, Dad? So August 3rd, you can do whatever you want, Craig Breslow. We will see if he did anything else. We look at what the big moves today will mean to the American League East. So here you go. And this is leading up to what we know at this point. Freddie Peralta, Liam Hicks, the catcher, Tyler Wells, lefty, they get from the Orioles. So the Rays, who have the best record in the American League, feel they have improved themselves today. The Yankees get Luis Garcia Jr. from Washington and Camilo Doval from Pittsburgh. And then the Orioles, we know what they've shipped off. They are in sell mode, and the Red Sox making their moves. Blue Jays, they get Soriano, but then they deal away Gausman and Varsho, so kind of straddling the fence a little bit there.
Yeah, and I think they're acquiring pitching to set themselves up for next year, so they move
controllable arms.
Right, controllable arms.
Varsho makes the move. We'll always remember that center field catch when he fell and still got the glove out on it. But again, a team that was so close to winning it all last year. You see how quickly fortunes can change.
I mean, Hoffman goes to Minnesota, and Gausman is a guy, I'll say here, I'm probably going to be wrong, but I'll say here, I would not be surprised if he is the best starting pitching acquisition. He's going to the Cubs. Always loved his mentality. Obviously, what he did in Toronto speaks for itself. But in this world of trying to get starting pitchers who can pitch in the postseason, meaningful postseason games, I think that was an underrated move by the Cubs.
Yeah, a lot of teams really, you could tell who was building up depth, and you could tell who was going for the home run to try to put themselves over the top. Obviously, Skubal was a major move. I like this move right here, and I like the Rutschman move.
You know, and also you look at the Skubal move and what that did for the Dodgers. And nobody talks about the Dodgers because we just assume, but they went out and then they got even more pitching today, which is sort of unbelievable. But all these moves, that they don't have to get relievers because they just keep moving starters into the bullpen. That's what they did last year. That was the plan. That is the blueprint.
Just an FYI, the Meyer for Miller deal did indeed get done, and there's also a minor league player, I don't know who, coming back to the Red Sox in that one. No other buzzer beaters.
From the Red Sox?
From the Red Sox.
Okay, there you go. Well, the Red Sox made plenty of moves today. They were busy. If that's all they did, that's quite a bit, though. You came into the day saying, but everybody had the same idea, right? Catcher or shortstop. One of those two spots is a place you could add offense. They've certainly done that with Rutschman.
Yeah, and I'm really glad that they were able to hold on to Arias and did not move him. I would have only moved him if it was something major. I like the fact that they were able to hold on to him. don't be surprised if he's not up here in September at some point.
I mean, careful. All I can think of is Yoan Moncada. I'm sorry. Like every time I think about calling up a guy.
Totally different player.
I know.
Totally different
But I'm
player.
scarred by the Yoan Moncada era.
You got to move on.
Yeah, sorry.
So there you go, reporting now that the Red Sox have no other moves at the Meyer for Miller deal plus another.
Carlos
minor leaguer.
Gutierrez is the minor leaguer.
Carlos Gutierrez is the minor leaguer coming back.
Yes, to the Red Sox.
So 2 for 1 on that deal. Meyer goes to San Francisco for Miller and Gutierrez. No other deals for the Red Sox expected to be announced now that the deadline has come and gone. So we sort of put things into perspective. Here's what the Red Sox competition did, beginning with the Yankees. They get Luis Garcia Jr., and you see what they gave away for that. A little bit of infield help there. Did you think the Yankees would do more today, JP?
I like what the Yankees did. Their pitching is their strength. They need to supplement the missing offense that they have, without Judge and with all the other guys being hurt. I like Garcia a lot. I like Helio Ramos, I believe they also acquired today. So I like what the Yankees did.
Luis Garcia Jr., a .560 slugging percentage, is best in the National League. He gives a little more pop to a team that, when healthy, has a lot of it.
Well, when you saw the Yankees without Judge, it was a totally different team because obviously you have guys Ben Rice coming back down, really coming back down to earth, and they couldn't score runs. And now you're going to get Judge back. You got this guy. Oh my God! You look at that swing, and I'm just thinking Yankee Stadium.
Yankee Stadium.
I'm just
My
thinking,
goodness.
oh my goodness.
Oscar Gamble.
A couple check swings might leave the yard at Yankee Stadium.
So it's funny because everyone's saying their priority was catching, and getting their starters back. I'll say it again. This is awesome. Like the Rays, Red Sox, Yankees dynamic now. Like, let's go.
You know what I really liked about this trading deadline? I don't know if you guys agree with me or not. The teams that have a chance to see the big picture have all made moves to get themselves to and through October. And that's how I saw it.
Yeah, there's an importance that's attached to getting the bye, right? Teams are competing for best record in the division or in the American League. And then, yes, there is a determined approach, right, which is part of the reason why you make a move like Marcelo Meyer for Eric Miller, because you want power arm after power arm after power arm coming out of the bullpen come October.
And TC made a really good point. You can't
Good
do
job, Tom.
Thank you.
You can't do anything in August anymore, right? So that's why I think you saw a lot of these minor moves where teams built some depth to get them to that point.
Well, that's the thing, right? What we talk about, they need power, and you'd like to see more depth in that bullpen. He's also controllable for 3 years. I mean, so you can pencil him in to your bullpen for a while to come if all goes well.
Right, and what if Tyron Guerrero gets injured, right? You wish, they have to protect themselves because they don't have, and JP, you would know this better than the rest of us. I don't think there's another late innings arm that's coming from the Woo Sox who you would really trust.
No one I would
end.
trust.
Right.
Someone I would try, but no one I would trust. You're getting it to the point in the season where trying, forget it. We're not doing it.
And you thought if there was an arm that was going to come up and help, it'd be Uberstein.
I thought Uberstein, because
no longer enough.
he would protect the younger kids
Right.
and be able to lengthen out, but he's gone.
How big a concern is that now? I know we've talked a lot about Tolley's innings. We're going to be talking about Bennett's innings, and I know they believe that they can manage this, but you've got to manage it. They're going to have to be careful with those inning totals.
I'm a little skeptical about the idea of how much you manage the young pitchers because we saw teams trying for years to manage it, and it didn't work, right? Pitcher health was not achieved. And in fact, we've seen the opposite case where if you have a big, strong dude, remember 2008 when John Lester obviously had been limited in his innings total because he had been recovering from cancer the previous year, right? He had been working back, regaining strength, and the Red Sox bumped up his innings by 100 in 2008, and he never looked back. He was able to shoulder the load. So I do think, JP, you have great experience with this. The game-to-game strength monitoring, seeing how pitchers are able to physically recover, if they are remaining strong in response to those individual outings, then I don't know that you fear the invisible cliff in the same way that you once did.
It's exactly like you said. There's been no proven point that you can't extend a guy, push a guy. I think it comes down to A, what's their physical condition? B, are they grinding out games? If they're struggling to get to the fifth, but you watch Bennett, he's like in a rocking chair every time he's out there. There's no reason why he can't throw 150 innings. We brought Hudson, Mulder, and Zito to the big leagues. We never babied him. We pushed him. and they gave us 200 innings every year. I think you have the same capabilities with the Red Sox.
Let me give a caveat to that. They were raised a different way. These guys are, you can hook them up to all the machines and test them all the live long day. But the fact of the matter is that they are not ingrained like they have been to push. And so we don't.
But I will say this.
Yeah.
Tolle is a big physical guy.
Sure.
Right?
But you know what I've also seen, not to interrupt you, but what I've seen with Tolle also is that he empties his tank. And I mean, this is in-game stuff. He empties his tank and then he sort of goes the other way. I think he's gotten better at that.
Yep.
But I keep thinking along those lines, the bigger picture. I don't know. Like, all I know is that the cliff is a very real thing for even veteran pitchers. I go back to Sean Manaea a couple of years ago, where you see he hit 200 innings. It was almost in the game, and he just fell off the cliff.
Yeah.
So I don't know how they fix it, but I do think Bello becomes a big part of this equation.
I don't think there's any doubt about that, and I said that before. And JP always points out, you think Washington would like to go back and let Strasburg make a couple playoff starts? You know what I mean? That's right. The point is, you hold these guys back for a future day. That future day may never come.
Yeah, the Red Sox have clearly prioritized now. And when you're doing that, you're also going to be taking some risks. Actually, my colleague with the Globe, Tim Healy, had this conversation with Andrew Bailey recently when he asked about managing the innings of young pitchers. And Bailey said, we don't know when this opportunity comes back. You don't want to be so risk averse that you're also giving up the opportunity to be great.
Welcome to the world of baseball now, because you can spin that toward throwing 100 miles an hour. They're like, we don't know how long we're going to get these guys, so we're going to have them push as much as we can and see what we can get out of them. But I just want to come back to Bello really quick, because not only do they protect him in terms of the starters, but I could see if you talked about Guerrero, not having a Guerrero. Well, who is the next guy up? Yeah. Why not Bello? Bello has that type of stuff. It seems absurd right now, but we've seen crazier things.
All right, we're going to take a break, come back with more. Red Sox making moves today. 3 that we've told you about. We are told they are done for the day, but we'll see if any other teams made any late deals right before the deadline. We're going to hear from Peter Abraham and more coming up. Take a look at what the Red Sox have done. Adley Rutschman, Jake Rogers, Eli White, and Eric Miller. The Hall still waiting on the team to officially announce the Miller deal, though we have had all the reporting on it. Let's get a little bit of analysis now as Peter Abraham joins us. Peter, you've seen what the Red Sox have done today. What do you make of their moves?
Well, I'm frankly shocked that Baltimore would have traded Rutschman within the division. That's something you wouldn't have seen coming even probably last year. But I think the underrated move is Eric Miller. I think he's a guy who can really improve their bullpen. Hasn't had the strikeout rate that he's had in the past, but he's a top-notch reliever, in my opinion, and a guy that the Red Sox could really use in that pen. And it kind of creates a lot more depth for that seventh, eighth inning, leading up to a Aroldis Chapman. And if you're going to be a playoff contender, that's what you really need.
We've seen, we just went through what's going on in the rest of the American League East. Yankees went out and added some power. What do you make of what the rest of the division did?
I mean, the Yankees have averaged a run less since losing Aaron Judge. And he's, apparently not close to coming back, at least to the major league roster. The same has been true of Giancarlo Stanton. So they needed to do something to help their lineup. Right now they're leaning a lot on Ben Rice and trying to get the most they can out of the guys that are still healthy. So that wasn't a surprise that they did that. It's there's so many teams in the American League that can make a case for contending, but the Yankees are one of the ones, they've been there the whole time and they had to do something offensively.
Hey, Pete, JP here. How you doing?
I'm good, JP. How are you?
Marcelo Mayer for Miller. I know it's a move to help the bullpen, but you think they could have got more for Mayer if they got him out there a little bit more?
That's a good question. Former 4th overall pick of the draft, but he's had a lot of trouble staying on the field. He has yet to play 100 games in a professional season, counting major and minor league games together. Hasn't hit in the big league level for over 100 games, which isn't a big sample size, but it is something. It seems like they've soured on him. I think both from the point of just not producing when he's played and just not being able to stay on the field. Remember in spring training, Alex Cora wouldn't say that he was on the major league roster until the last couple of days. And people kept questioning him about that. Why won't you say that he's ready? And what is it that he has to do? I think they were just trying to make a point to him that he had to earn his place and that it wasn't just going to be given to him because he was a former first-round pick. And to me, that, even with Alex Cora gone, I think that attitude has kind of stayed in the organization, that they weren't sold on him being an everyday player. And I think trading him for a reliever probably proves that.
Pete, obviously the Red Sox were interested in adding at shortstop, at catcher. They also, jumped out early for Mead. Do you think that with Rutschman and maybe Mead coming back, that the upgrade of the offense has been to the extent that they were shooting for?
Well, I guess that really depends on when Mead can come back and if he can come back, and that's unclear right now. The idea that he would only have two plate appearances before going on the injured list. It's going to be had to be a terrible thing for the front office to have that happen. Now, how much can Rutschman give them? Some more offense, that remains to be seen. But this was a guy. I mean, I think he's a good fit at Fenway Park with the way he hits. In talking to him in the past, I know he likes playing at Fenway, and it's just so interesting to me to have the pitching staff be as good as they've been, and now to potentially replace both catchers depending on what they do with the backup spot. I thought earlier this week that would be a hard thing to do. Maybe you should just leave it well enough alone because the pitchers have been so good. But Rutschman is a guy with such a good reputation for handling a staff, being a leader on a team, the kind of guy who likes to talk about how we're going to attack the other team. He's not just a catcher who's thinking about his offense. He really embraces the whole part of being the leader of a pitching staff and being a great communicator. It'll be really interesting, given all of the experience he's had in the division, how much of an impact he can make on the Red Sox pitching staff.
All right, Peter, good stuff. Thanks for the visit. We appreciate it.
Thanks, TC.
All right, Peter Abraham joining us. JP, talk about that part of it real quick. And Rob, I want you to jump in here as well. But the whole process of a new primary catcher coming to a team, you got to get to know the other pitchers now. He knows the American League. He knows he's been around, he's 3-time All-Star. But now getting to know the pitchers. He's seen them as a hitter. Now he's got to catch them. How long does that process take?
I don't think it takes as long as people think. I think they catch a bullpen, and they got a pretty good idea. The pitcher is really going to understand what he wants to do. This guy's just going to – the younger kids maybe a little bit more, but guys like Chapman and stuff, this will be a seamless transition.
But there are young kids on that staff, so he'll get to know them. Although, coming over while he's on the IL, he's got a little time to get to know them before he starts catching them.
He does, but I do think that there are a number of factors that also maybe ease the transition, right? Right now, game planning is driven, as we know, more by the front office than ever. And so the ability to kind of implement a game plan is somewhat simplified. I also think, particularly in the era of PitchCom, I was actually talking about this with Jonah Heim a couple of days ago, who had moved from Atlanta to the the A's earlier this season, and he had talked about how he thought that the figuring out kind of working together, that process had been shortened in order to get feel for what a pitcher wants to do.
I think the leadership aspect of this too, and I referenced the image Adley Rutschman has after every half inning of running to the baseline to greet the pitcher. And people are going to have to get used to that, but I think it's a great thing. It shows you his investment. It gives you an idea of his leadership. And we've talked about this dynamic throughout the show about what this clubhouse, the reaction of the clubhouse, and in all the names that we're talking about, I mean, all of them. There's more talented guys that could have come here, but the guys who have the impact in terms of the personality and the leadership, there's not a lot of guys who are available who are going to be better than Rutschman.
And again, it goes back to the chemistry thing we talked about. He should fit into this.
And it's a strike-throwing staff. It's not a crazy staff where probably the toughest guy for him to catch is probably going to be Bayo because he's got the hard sinker. The other guys are around the plate, and he's going to have a really easy time settling in with those guys.
All right, so Adley Rutschman, the big fish. We are told that Craig Breslow is going to be talking to the media at 7 o'clock. So there'll be more answers coming up then. But it was a busy day in the front offices over at Fenway Park in Boston. The Red Sox making 3 deals before the trade deadline. And now they go into the stretch run reloaded and ready. All right, take a look at some of the major deals over the last few days. You know that on Friday night, just about the same time they were canceling the drone show, the Dodgers acquired Terry Skubal just to get everyone to stop paying attention to the lack of a drone show. You had to do something.
What a move.
Cubs got the pitcher they wanted. They got Gosman from Toronto, Tampa Bay. We told you Liam Hicks and Freddie Peralta. The White Sox, Luis Castillo from Seattle. Philadelphia gets Luis Arise from San Francisco. I guess the Yankees didn't even make our list of big deals, even though they went out and got a couple guys who can bop. But let's talk about Arise, because a lot of people thought he might be a good fit for the Red Sox.
I think he's a good fit for a lot of teams. You know, this is what's missing in our game, table setters, guys who get on. And last time I looked, when you walk in every stadium, there's a scoreboard. You got to score runs. And these guys get on base, and they get on base at a high clip, and they allow the big boppers to knock them in. So I really like this move with the Phillies. They're a dangerous team. I don't know if I'd want to play them in the playoffs because they're a little schizophrenic, but when they can pitch, whoa.
Yeah, I mean, look at, I mean, they have Sanchez, they have Wheeler, you get into a series with them, good luck. And let's be honest, you can match up as good as the Dodgers are. Like that's the team that can probably match up with them in terms of pitching. And I'm with you. Arise is just, He's such a good player, and now he's fielding the ball. Thank you, Ron Washington. It's incredibly hard, but he's embraced the difficulty. But it's a great move, I think, for the Phillies.
Embraced it to the point where he refused to play anything but second base.
I know. Well, yeah.
Hello, Bryce Harper, outfielder.
Exactly. But it's Dombrowski again. I mean, it was Duran, the reliever, last year, and this year, the guy, I think it was Marquez, they gave up this time around. A lot of people in baseball love him. That's all well and good. But I'll come back to the Dombrowski conversation. All right, well, how many times has it come back to hurt him? Not a lot. It just hasn't.
And you bring up a good point. When you get to the playoffs, you've got to have 3 good starters. And the teams that can line that up, even if they just get to the playoffs and they get 3 good starters, I don't know if I want to play those teams.
Well, what's interesting, San Diego, too, by the way, on the list, Casey Mize. Casey Mize, San Diego getting a couple starters and not quite giving up like we thought they might.
Right, not emptying the bullpen, right? Because that's the other part of it, JP. You need the 3 good starters, but you also need the Death Star bullpen now.
Yep.
And so we're seeing teams loading up with that, and the Padres not sacrificing.
And you look at the Braves, right?
Yeah.
They get a nice team, but their starting pitching you don't get that worried about them. I look at the Phillies, I'm a little worried. I look at the Dodgers, I'm a little worried. So that starting pitching could set the tone.
All right, when you looked at this week, first full week of August on the schedule, you said, White Sox and A's. Well, the White Sox rolling in with a 3-game lead in the American League Central, and they will be at Fenway over the next 3 days. Davis Martin makes the start tomorrow. Sean Burke, pride of St. John, Shrewsbury, the former Pioneer, pitching on Wednesday, and then Luis Castillo, who they just acquired from Seattle, will make the start in the final game. There was a feeling Seattle would trade off a pitcher, if not more. Didn't know who it would be. They got the White Sox to take the money and take Castillo. Were you surprised that the White Sox were spending this kind of cash?
Yeah, I mean, it's a big chunk of money, and it was also real prospect capital that they were sending. The Mariners were then able to go out and acquire Taylor Ward, so they were able to add offense while moving a pitcher. But yeah, I think that we see the White Sox see what we see with the American League. And don't the White Sox now have the biggest lead of any American League division leader?
Is that right?
I think so. If they're at 3.
They do.
Yeah,
the 2 or 2.5.
And boy, they can hit. I mean, you talk about hitting home runs in the postseason. They can hit. And if they catch lightning in a bottle with Castillo, they're already a legitimate team, but that is such a difference-making situation.
Isn't that what's funny, though? When you look at all the little check marks the Red Sox have had over the course of the past 6 weeks, nobody talks about the 3 games in Chicago. The White Sox aren't that good anyway. Well, no, they're actually pretty good. And part of this, you talk about the sweep of the Yankees at Fenway, talk about, that last game before the All-Star break coming from behind to beat the Mets. There's so many moments in this thing you talk about. Everybody overlooks what the Red Sox did against the White Sox.
Yeah, actually, I think that was huge for the formation of their belief that their hot streak was becoming something that is atypical because, the Angels were not a good team when they went in and just flattened them. So they were like, okay, cool, we're playing well. Then they got through the White Sox and they said, we just beat the team with the best home record in baseball. Okay, this is now something. So it resonated with the Red Sox that at that moment, the White Sox were in some ways the litmus test.
I think that we focus on the 15-game win streak. We focus on the overall record. But the teams that the Red Sox have handled, I think, is maybe the most important thing. And not only the first-place teams. In the last 40 days, you're 14-0 against first-place teams. But also, the White Sox at home, you mentioned it, at home had won 10 straight home series. That's how good. That was the place where they were never lost, and the Red Sox came in and beat them. Just another check mark on their. It
was overlooked because they spent more time on the tarmac at O'Hare than they actually did playing the White Sox.
I can't wait for the September plane breaking down just to keep things rolling.
Well, we got the August one off the books last night, so that's taken care of. And then you start to wonder, will you see Roman Anthony again before the end of the season? Could Garrett Crochet be pitching before the end of that? We'll talk about all of that and what promises to be an intriguing final 2 months of the baseball season. Our trade deadline continues. Craig Breslow will be speaking to the media at 7 o'clock. By the way, the Red Sox did just officially announce the Eric Miller deal, so that is no longer reportedly, that is official. Red Sox making 3 deals today to go along with the Curtis Mead deal a little over a week ago. Lots of action coming into this trade deadline for Craig Breslow in the Red Sox front office. All right, we just mentioned the plane troubles that have become a major storyline of the Red Sox 2026 season. Jaron Duran posting that they had another problem, 3rd time's the charm, our plane breaking down again. It was a very late night, very early morning arrival. Actually, not even that early. It was after 10 a.m. when the team finally got in today. Will Middlebrooks speaking for everybody on the travel party, saying the one ask of the deadline is the Sox trade for a new plane. Whatever it takes, do it. If they need more, I'll throw in my firstborn and his chili recipe, which I guess is good. And then, Rob, you had an idea.
Yeah.
The baseball isn't boring jet.
I mean, that's hard to negotiate. It's tough to negotiate with Joe Kelly over planes. Everybody knows that.
But is it dependable?
No,
baseball is
as far as you know, it is.
As far as Wilson Contreras knows, he's all for it. He's in. He wants the baseball as important.
That's why he's the smartest guy in baseball.
Just promise me Joe Kelly isn't the pilot.
Well, I can't promise anything.
Co-pilot, it is unbelievable how that has been an ongoing story. Meantime, I'm glad that we're not sitting here saying, well, there won't be a better trade deadline pickup than Roman Anthony or Garrett Crochet, because that has often been the case. We've been left talking about injured players coming back instead of adding talent. Now you're hoping that we're talking about both. They went out and got help today, but there's still hope that these guys come in and impact this season.
Right, and so last week we finally had Roman Anthony once again resuming swinging as he got out to that 12-week mark or so from that. It's listed as a sprain, but let's call it what it is. As Rob first reported, it was a ligament, a partial ligament tear. So now he's ramping up, and where that takes him, TBD. Because as you guys know, just because you are in the process of getting healthy and going through the repetitions of resuming swinging doesn't mean you're going to be able to reclaim your timing as an elite hitter and kind of hit the ground running. So a lot up in the air with him, and then with Crochet, I think that one's a kind of shrug emoji of whether or not he'll be able to help this year. I think obviously they would love him to be able to do so. He could obviously do so as a reliever if he's not able to get stretched out as a starter based on his history. But he's not throwing a baseball. So tough to predict when he's going to be back.
By the way, nobody got to see your human shrug emoji. Thank you for actually displaying the shrug emoji. We talked about this, JP. If he picks up a ball tomorrow, we're still talking about weeks and weeks and weeks until you can see him.
Just envision what spring training is, and these guys come in healthy and ready to go, and that's a 6-week buildup. This, to me, would have to be a buildup that maybe he's ready for the playoffs.
You know, good teams don't do this. Good teams don't say exactly what you had mentioned about, our trade deadline was getting players. The Dodgers had every right to do that. They had Will Smith, Tyler Glasnow, Blake Snell coming back. But they didn't. I don't know if you know this, they got Tarek Skubal. And it would be great. I think Roman Anthony can make obviously an enormous difference. With Derek Crochet, you just pointed it out. A guy who is intriguing me, Tanner Houck. Tanner Houck is sort of coming on a little bit here, as he said he was. Right? He said, hey, You know what? I want to be ready to pitch meaningful innings, probably as a reliever in September. We're like, oh, that's great. Super. That's great. It's not going to matter, but that's great. And here we are. Well, who knows? I mean, this is something that people should start talking about.
Especially as you start talking about, if other guys can't go the distance. If other guys, we've seen Suarez deal with a couple injuries. We've seen Sonny Gray deal with a couple injuries. The hope right now, with early gone, you've shaved down that depth just a little bit. We mentioned Bayo before. They've got some depth, but Houck coming back would be a big part of that addition.
Yeah, I mean, I would imagine that he would be a reliever, though.
Sure.
Yeah, but think about what they've done, and we've talked so much today about developing pitches and Eyanson and Witherspoon. Also, let's give him credit for Patrick Sandoval. I mean, this is how Patrick Sandoval has his emergence and landing where he has been such an important part of the equation, because if you don't have him, then you're kind of scrambling a little bit.
Well, we mentioned it earlier this week. I think Sandoval has just stepped in and replaced Connolly early.
Yeah.
He's giving you the same amount of innings, pretty much the same amount of strikeouts. So that's a little bit of a seamless transition on the good side for them. And if Tanner Houck comes back, he might be that bridge guy that helps you get from the 5th inning to the 7th inning.
We mentioned Trevor Story before, not to be overlooked. We talk about guys who could be back and impact this team. What's the realistic thought that Story can be a shortstop here by the end of the year?
The fact that he hasn't started a rehab assignment yet means that there's still some work to be done. But there's been no reports of any setbacks. He seems like he's feeling athletic, like he's feeling good. He's moving more freely than he was before the surgery happened. So the realistic path for him to be a shortstop again, I'm not entirely sure. But that with Trevor Story, he will be pushing to be able to reclaim that role.
I think Alex said it earlier, where everyone wants to say, well, Trevor Story wasn't very good this year. Trevor Story was very hurt in those first couple months. That was not, and it is what he was. He tried to play through it. But I think that you've reached this point where you just can't say, oh, Trevor Story's going to be back in mid-September. That's going to solve all the problems. I do think that it's taken a little bit longer than certainly Trevor Story has wanted. And also, once he gets that rehab assignment, he has to prove that he can play baseball closer to the level that we thought he would, other than the level that he showed at the beginning of the year.
I think the big challenge is when these guys, if they come back, do they disrupt what's going on? You got to be very careful.
Yeah.
You can't give these guys a long leash. Say, I'm going to give you 2 weeks to figure this out. You don't have 2 weeks. So it's going to be interesting how they handle it.
All right, Red Sox getting back to work tomorrow as they welcome the White Sox to town. It is a 3-game series with Chicago at Fenway Park. We are bringing you right up to the top of the hour when you will hear from Craig Breslow. He'll be talking to the media about a busy trade deadline day. You'll hear what he says about it in just a little bit. All right, take a look at what the Red Sox have done since June 25th. A 28-5 record, outscoring teams by 67 runs over those 33 games. The starters' ERA has been very good, bullpen ERA even better. And if you hadn't been paying attention yet this weekend, might have gotten you to jump back on the bandwagon. A sweep of the Dodgers last night, 4 home runs, one of those games where you give up the lead and then you get it right back with 3 home runs in an inning. This was not happening 2 months ago.
And we've seen that a lot from the Red Sox over the course of this stretch, especially their most recent part of the winning streak. It hasn't been an easy winning streak. They have been coming back in a number of these games, and they've made it a regular part of what they've, in their own terms, of their identity. They've shown a lot of fight when challenged over the course of individual games, and they're showing offensive versatility to be able to come back, because that was what was missing. They did not have the ability to sustain a rally, partly because, JP, as you identified, there were those parts of the lineup that were just holes, and pitchers could work around the threats in the lineup and just kind of find the soft spots. And now, when you have almost everyone in the lineup with 700 plus OPSs or 750 plus OPSs, it is a very different test than when you have a handful of guys who are under 700.
You're building critical mass, like we said earlier. You know, they can't duck through somebody. I believe hitting is contagious. I believe it gets a little bit, you know, like, hey, I'm passing the baton. This year's just been magical. I've been in the game 45 years. You know, I can't remember a year like this. Maybe the '67 Red Sox when I was 9 years old. I mean, they can't do anything wrong.
Is there, if they go to classrooms and they say, hey, hitting is contagious, and you say, someone say, prove it, well, so did the 2026 Reds. Says, because, guys, the fact of the matter was that it was the opposite of contagious. The contagious part of it was bad. It was a bad virus where you had this team saying, hey, if we fall down a run or 2 runs, forget about it. We aren't coming back. And those games in Dodger Stadium was a microcosm of what we're talking about. I'm like, oh my goodness, that, yeah, sure, you fell down the Dodgers. And you know, you can talk about the Dodgers not wanting it as much as the Red Sox. They did not want to get swept. You could feel that in that stadium where you're like, oh, you know what, Ohtani's going to do something about this. But no, we'll hit 3 home runs in 1 inning and you'll see you later. That's it.
If hitting is contagious, Cedar Rafael has got the fever. What a week. He's the American League Player of the Week. The Grand Slam, all the runs in the first game in Sacramento, right? His Grand Slam in a 4-2 win. 2 home runs, the only hits they got off Yamamoto until the 8th inning, then a home run last night. He is, I've been saying for months now, we all have, the consistency has been the biggest difference. But now the consistent power is kind of the final piece.
He puzzles me to no end. He is an endlessly fascinating player because he hadn't been consistent this year. He had started chasing again like crazy over the months of June and July. And I thought, it's kind of shifting the other way, but the rest of the offense is managing to be able to kind of hide some of the things that are happening in his approach. But then lights on and Cedar lights up, right? It's been a pretty impressive run to see the way that even though the approach will come and go, and I think that that's going to be true of his entire career, there are moments where he is not afraid and he is ready to step up and have a really good approach.
And Alex, I know you talked to Chad Epperson a lot about Cedar Rafael. Obviously, he's a player in AA. I looped back with him after that game the other night, and he reiterated the story about how he would go to the front office and say, this is Mookie Betts. This is the AA guy, little guy, probably half his size that he's now, chasing things, everything. But Chad Epperson, he is Mookie Betts. And it was just ironic that across the field, Mookie Betts is sitting there. And obviously, unfortunately for Mookie, which player would you take right now? You probably take Cedar Rafaela. It was a pretty powerful statement at a very unique time for Rafaela.
And the defense we've known from the start, but when you combine the two now, you've got an exceptional player.
You're watching the maturation of a young player. You know, they don't all get to the big leagues and then they hit and they play defense. Sometimes the defense is ahead of the bat. Sometimes the bat is ahead of the defense. And, you know, when you talk about prospects, this is what you hope they turn into. they don't all turn into this. But you have to give credit to the kid. He's made an adjustment. Not all the time, Alex, I agree with you, but he's way more in control with his swing, and he really seizes the moment.
And the other thing is, he's gotten better every year in the big leagues, right? That's the other part of prospect development, where you start out and you might be underwater. And so maybe that's part of the calculus with Marcelo Meyer, right? How far underwater is he? And so even if you assume that there's a progression for him, prospect progression, how many years is it going to be until it takes him that time to hit that moment of maturity where he's able to be a kind of positive lineup contributor on a daily basis?
All right, let's talk about the schedule going forward now, because we said this homestand, you've got the White Sox and the Athletics, and you're going to go on the road 4 against the Blue Jays. Then you're in Pittsburgh, face the Pirates. You got Arizona and San Francisco coming in, Miami after that. It's an interesting schedule going forward here the next week.
I just looked at the Marcelo Meyer return in late August. But it is. And listen, you can't take the pedal off the metal here. You have to keep going. You have a White Sox team that's feeling great about themselves. They got the BC High kid waving his magic wand everywhere, and Murakami hitting home runs like every other day. So their vibes are high, and they're going to keep that going. And they also, they are a team that's been resilient. The White Sox have gone through a tough stretch in terms of their schedule. They've been able to come through it. Will Venable has done an awesome job, but to stay on the Red Sox, we could say all these teams are beatable, but it doesn't matter. This is one thing that you just have to keep moving forward, keep the momentum going. And I think what this did, this helped keep the momentum going. And TC, we talked about it the other day, the pregame show. What is the last thing that they can do that is not reliant on a deadline? It is saying Chad Tracy, interim tag,
Let's do
off
it.
the table.
Are you surprised they haven't done it yet, Alex?
I don't think I'm surprised.
Yet. Would you be surprised if they don't do it? Let's do that. Should they do it before the end of the season?
I don't know that it's that important to do it before the end of the season. I am not surprised that they haven't done it yet, in part because what happened in Craig Breslow's first year as the chief baseball officer of the Red Sox. He ended up committing to Alex Cora long term, and it turns out that was, that ended up maybe not being the best match. And
I'm going to play devil's advocate.
Yeah, please.
What if Chad Tracy says, well, you're not going to name me manager. I'm going to get to the end of the year. Maybe I'll take my chances because I've proven that I can manage. There's going to be other teams out there that are going to be very interested in Chad Tracy.
Although I wonder whether or not he is, because of the contract that he would have signed, and I don't know the contractual nuances to this, do they have team control over his contractual rights beyond this year? They might.
No. How would they?
If it was a multi-year contract to be a minor league manager?
Major league deal now.
Interim. So I don't know. You would know better than I.
We've talked about this earlier. What more does the guy have?
Yeah, I think
that's
that's what it comes back to.
You're either committed to this guy or you're not. If you're not committed to this guy after everything that's taken place this year, I don't know what you're going to be committed to.
Yeah,
I don't even know what you're looking
for. He can't show you any
for.
more than what he's done.
Right, exactly.
Right, that's fair.
Right.
And I think that, because at first the reaction was the win streak, then there was some more wins, and then it was getting back into it. But you guys know this too. The way that he's handled things that have come up, like that is checking off boxes here in Boston. And
I thought the Duran thing the other night, Thursday night, was kind of the first sort of internal drama that had really become public. And I thought the way he talked to the media about it Friday in LA was textbook. Like the way you handle the situation, the way you don't air out a player, but the way you make it clear that they are talking so that everybody's on the same page. That was a young manager showing you that he's got full control of this team.
And let's not forget, like what he started with was really hard, right? Like going through that period of 2 months where the Red Sox were getting beaten up on a regular basis and maintaining belief both outwardly and then also capturing the minds of the players, right? There was of course, the late night text that he sent to the entire team when they were in Colorado at the low point of the season after the walk-off triple against Chapman, where he said, as bad as this is right now, this is going to turn. I am here with you right now. I will be here with you then. And that resonated in a way that was very powerful with a number of the Red Sox players. It was a couple of days later that the winning started.
And two things that he didn't really have, which was a really veteran clubhouse. The Phillies, when they turned over their manager, they had a bunch of 30-somethings who said, we know how to do this, and we just got to look ourselves in the mirror. And he didn't have a coaching staff that knew how to get through the Major League season either. So it wasn't like, here, Chad, you just figure this out, and we're going to handle everything else. everybody, well, not everybody, but half the coaching staff had to go through it as well, and he still managed.
I find it funny that they were very quick to extend young players after a very short period of time that they think have proven themselves, and now you have a manager. Why wouldn't you do the same thing to the manager? And if he's got a smart agent, he's going to tell him, let's wait till the end of the year and see if anybody else is interested in me.
Well, he'll be there tomorrow night as the Red Sox will probably have like a 5:30 report time tomorrow.
It'll be after first pitch.
It'll be after. Show up for the game, guys. If you could be here by 7:05, we'd appreciate that. Another late arrival with the plane last night. You talk about the innings that we've been talking about with the young guys. Here you go. Totally 116 innings this year if you include his AAA. That's already a professional career high. Jake Bennett, again, already a professional career high, though he was up there when he was pitching in college. But we talked about this before. Not a major concern. That.
He leads the league in least amount of words per sentence.
It's unbelievable.
I don't know. Like the baseball savant page is bright red in word efficiency in his.
Connolly early, when he was still here, told me at one point the over/under on words per answer is 5.
It's
if you get over 5, you've really gotten something out of it. You've gotten them open up a little bit. They're going to ride these guys, though. They're going to ride these guys, and why not? They're the young arms who've gotten you this far. You're not going to suddenly turn away from them because of innings.
And the other part is that the other way that they're protecting themselves is the postseason has a lot of openers these days, right? So that's the other fail-safe mechanism that exists in the current game of baseball, where if there is a hang-up, you have just made your bullpen deeper. So if you need to roll out the one bullpen game in a series, you don't love it.
I hate it. I hate it.
Can't it be Bayo at this point?
Yeah, no.
Instead of a bullpen
but
game,
I'm saying, like, if you have a
Yes.
succession of injuries.
Openers should be banned in the postseason. It's like, honestly, and I go back to, when Mike Hazen, the year that they went on the run, he's sitting there, and we all know Hazen, and he's like woe is us. I didn't do enough at the deadline. Oh, no, you did great. You did great. No, we have an opener in the World Series, and he's saying that, and he's right. He's right. No openers. No.
Shouldn't happen.
No, I mean, because usually when it does, good luck,
You win in the playoffs with starting pitching. You think they're going to open for Skubal?
No.
Are they going to open for,
No, they're doing the opposite.
Right.
They're basically taking their starters and they're saying, okay, you're going to pitch out of the bullpen. So, yeah.
But they did that last year, and then they still ended up rolling out openers. So it's.
Well, what happens, it's inevitable, I guess. But if you can position yourself, you cannot say, oh, well, we can do an opener. If you have to do it, you have to do it. If you have to pitch Will Klein out of nowhere, you have to do it. But listen,
it's like sending your second-string goalie out to start the game.
It's for the first, only for the first 10 minutes.
You're only in for 10 minutes.
Only for 10 minutes.
Your instincts are key, JP. I like that.
All right, we are closing in, working our way towards the general manager, president of baseball operations, Craig Breslow, going to be talking to the media a little bit after 7. Stay with us as the Red Sox have made themselves an active participant at the trade deadline 2026.
think everybody's just enjoying the SoCal vibe and just having fun out here. So it was good to see the boys swing it today.
A sweep here of the Angels.
That's our mentality. We just get the momentum going, and the boys feel really good.
The Red Sox sweep Chicago.
3-2 pitch on the way. Siegler swings and he clobbers one, tailing toward the pole. It is gone!
You can't ever count us out. You really can't.
9 straight for the Boston Red Sox.
The All-Star break has come and gone.
You got to come ready to play out of the break.
And a swing and a drive. Right field. He's crushed another one. You got to be kidding me. And the Red Sox just cannot lose. Swinging a high fly ball left field. This is deep. Back it goes. Yes, sir. It's out of here. And that's 14 in a row, baby. The Red Sox win their 15th in a row to tie the all-time franchise record from 80 summers ago.
Rafaela in the air to left. Thomas goes back onto the track at the wall. That ball's gone. A slam for St. Don. Abreu strikes it well. Center field. Butler back. Tie game. Right on cue. Wilyer launches. And now Wilson Contreras launches. Back to back for the lead.
Swing and a drive down the left field line. That's deep. Back it goes. Kiss it goodbye. Off into the bullpen. And the Sox are back on top. 0-2 and in there for strike 3. The Red Sox wrap up an amazing month of July. They never want this month to end, but it ends at 21-4. The best month the Red Sox have ever had in their history.
All right, the plays of the month as we now roll through, so far, an undefeated August. It's off to a nice start, but now the White Sox roll into Fenway Park. 3-game set begins tomorrow night. Our pregame coverage starts at 6. And the Red Sox today making moves before the trade deadline that has come and gone. Take a look at the players. They go, hey, we got an Eric Miller picture.
That's what he looks like.
That's what he looks like. Adley Rutschman and Jake Rogers acquired from the Orioles. Eli White from the Atlanta Braves. And Eric Miller has been acquired from Marcelo Meyer, a minor league player coming back with that as well. The trades have all officially been announced, but to recap what the Red Sox did today, it all begins with the guy on the far left of your screen, Adley Rutschman, the 3-time All-Star, currently on the injured list with a wrist issue. We'll hear more in just a few minutes from Craig Breslow, but a guy who brings leadership, a guy who brings offense, a guy who can handle a pitching staff, a lot of good things bringing in, and he's under control for this year and next.
And think about this, is that we're talking about what he can bring to the Red Sox, which is a lot. If he went to the Yankees, how would you feel? Like, there would be, I think that all these players that went to the Yankees, they had a pretty good deadline in Garcia and Robinson, all these guys. But still, if Adley Rutschman, for what he presents, went to the New York Yankees, I think that changes the dynamics so much of this division. But guess what? He didn't go to the Yankees. He went to the Red Sox, and now the Yankees fans are feeling that pain.
Because that's a good point. The Yankees were rumored in on that. They were all looking for catchers. Not only did you get him, but you kept him from going to your rival.
Can't think about Tampa Bay, too, as well. I mean, it is 2 teams ahead of you, but this was a major pickup. This is a major guy in the middle lineup. He catches, he strengthens you through the middle. I mean, just so many quality things that he brings to the club. I got to believe that clubhouse is going to be so excited.
And it is interesting you bring up Tampa Bay, right? They end up acquiring Liam Hicks, but Hicks is a guy who had basically been the backup catcher with the Marlins. Someone who the Red Sox had interest in as potentially being able to upgrade their offense behind the plate. But you don't know about the defensive side. Rutschman is, I'm not sure if there was a bigger two-way impact guy who was moved at this year's deadline. It feels like you were choosing either or in the case of most of the position players who changed teams. Rutschman, you kind of get it all.
Yeah, Hunter Goodman obviously was a name that was brought up, would have cost a ton. We say he would have cost a ton more, but Adley Rutschman cost a pretty penny. But still, you look at what he can do, and you mentioned this defensively. Rutschman, we focus so much on their need for power, their need for extra base hits, all of that. This guy can catch, man. Like, this guy can control his staff, and he can throw guys out as well.
Good athlete. I think he was a punter at Oregon State.
Oh, Rob, didn't you have one time interview him about the epic tackle?
Oh, yeah, it's the tackle. Was it Stanford? I forget.
Yeah.
Oh, yes. It was, because why not? If someone it makes it a key tackle.
Of Christian McCaffrey.
That's right. Christian McCaffrey.
In the open field, kicker Adley Rutschman brought him down.
There you go.
Which, if they go out and throw the football almost every single day in the outfield, if we aren't, come on, like if we aren't doing something with him kicking the ball over the green monster, we aren't trying. Let's go.
Well, camp is open, and now Adley Rutschman is coming to Fenway Park. Timetable on his return. What have we seen anything on that? What are they saying? Do we know yet?
Well, he was on the verge of doing a rehab assignment, right? So, but again, I think that they should slow play this as much as they can, just because this guy hasn't only been the wrist, has been other things. Get him right. Make sure for the last month and a half of the regular season he's all right.
You want him ready for the playoffs, right?
Yeah,
that's the most important thing.
And so Carlos Narváez goes as part of that deal. A year ago, we talked a lot about, well, there's your catcher of the future. You see what he and Wong have done this year. But Narváez, a guy that they traded a pretty good young pitcher for, now moves in this deal. Obviously, the knee impacted his second half last year, but this year the offense just never got there.
Yeah, the bat just never, it seemed like it was underwater for so much of this year, and you could see it wearing on him as well, because he did invest a ton of himself in the well-being of the team, and you could just see the weight that he was putting on his at-bats and his inability to deliver in key spots. There was some freedom that was opened up as he did start to contribute with small ball at various points down the stretch here, but he wasn't able to kind of bring back the magic carpet ride of all of those balls off the wall that he hit last year to left center.
Well, he went from one of the leaders of the team, one of the foundation pieces, and we applauded them for that deal last year, to a third catcher. And when you're a third catcher, you get your chance against the best pitcher of the entire week, and good luck with that. You don't do well, and you feel bad for another couple days. So, and that's sort of the cycle I think he got into.
By the way, you saw the extra base hits down to 9. I just want that's extra base hits, not expected base hits. I had to make that. But when you talk about the catching thing it's just so important to a team, and you watch it. You talk about him being third, right? You had that 3-week run where Mickey Gasper was the primary catcher of the Red Sox, and that's not a position you want to be trying to figure out in September and into the playoffs. Now you've got your guy. He's your catcher. Connor Wong, in an ideal world, you'll get even a little more out of him offensively because he won't be playing as often. It might be you can use him in some different situations as a DH or a pinch runner as needed.
They've won a lot with Connor Wong behind the plate. Yeah. He's a really good part of the catching solution. And, for that matter, it will be interesting to see whether or not they give Rutschman more time. Maybe they give him more time to acclimate to the pitching staff by finding him some time as a DH. And we'll see how all the pieces fit together. But I don't think that you are afraid of having Connor Wong back there. Pitchers love throwing to him. He's been pretty good offensively this year, but Rutschman adds more dimensions. This is a guy who, when he's healthy, he's really good.
Think about this, guys. 2 years ago, if you said the Red Sox are going to trade for Adley Rutschman and trade Marcelo Meyer for a lefty reliever, it would be inconceivable.
And that is the other big takeaway. To me, the two biggest takeaways are you got Adley Rutschman, which is a massive addition, and that the Marcelo Meyer era ended not with a bang, but with a whimper. You just sort of moved on, and that's a shocking thing compared to what this guy was the 4th pick in the draft. They envisioned him, or we talked about him as being sort of a captain going forward, the centerpiece of the Red Sox. You're getting a lefty reliever for him.
This reminds me of the Mickey Moniak trade, like a guy was the #1 pick in the draft, was hyped, this and that, and basically was given away. I'm a little shocked that they didn't get a little bit more, so to speak, even on the lines of prospect for prospect. But I think this is a prime example for young players to take notice that you'll be given a rope up to a certain point, but once an organization sours on you, man, this reeks of they'd want to really get rid of this.
Yeah, I I don't think any of us will argue that the reliever they got back, Miller, can be a very important piece, right? But that's not the conversation here. The conversation is, well, could you have used, to your point, that they didn't use him in the Marte trade? Could you have used him in something else? And we'll never know, because they reached the point where, like, no, we want to win now for the next couple months. We need this reliever, and this is the way we're going to get him.
But Tom, to your point, he was part of the anticipated identity of the Red Sox for a long time. I had watched it. I had watched the excitement of the organization about what you would see on the backfields with the way that Marcelo Meyer worked with Roman Anthony and with Kyle Teal and what they thought was possible. And even the way that he was moving among other top prospects in the organization as a bilingual player who they thought had a chance to provide leadership. And so, he was the guy who had the duck boats as the wallpaper on his cell phone. Like, this was going to be the arrival of Marcelo Meyer and Roman Anthony was supposed to signal the openness of a championship window, and it kind of did, but it wasn't necessarily with Marcelo Meyer, it turns out.
Was there, I guess the question I have is, was there a player who was as this anticipated? And I mean, when was the last time we had a player this anticipated than Marcelo Meyer? Because as I said, you start with a 4th pick in the draft, and then you go to, well, it's a logical replacement for Xander Bogaerts, and then you go to moments, like you said, hitting a home run in spring training against Nathan Eovaldi, or things like that.
The buzz when he made his debut between those games of the doubleheader last year, and just when we got word late in the first game that he was getting called up, you heard fans buzzing through the crowd as those notifications came on your phone.
It was Moncada Benintendi, by the way. Like, those were the guys who, from the moment they set foot in pro ball, were expected to be franchise changers.
And fans were tracking them on the way up. Right.
I'm going to vent a little bit here because I think he's a byproduct of what we've done with young players. I think the travel baseball mentality has seeped into professional baseball. I think Meyer is a guy that's been given a lot without proving a lot. I got to see him play a lot in AAA. I think he's a talented guy, but I think a lot was given to him that wasn't really earned. And I think these guys get to the big leagues and they're anointed, but they forget they actually got to go out and play, and they got to produce, and they have to be good teammates. And I think, hopefully for Marcelo, this will be a little bit of a wake-up, and he'll tap into the talent he has, but more importantly, he'll tap into a work ethic that I don't think he really had at the big league level.
And the Red Sox turnaround also does coincide with when you had the grinders, right? The Sieglers of the world coming up, Siegler was a first-round pick who had fallen pretty far, but who had to work and claw his way back in order to become the player that he's become. And I think that there's an energy that courses through an entire roster when you have players like that.
I think, Alex, when we try to desperately figure out how this has happened, this run, and there's a lot of different things, but one of them was Siegler. And not only what he did on the field, but his vibe, his energy, converts, like guys who are what they are. Marcelo Meyer is who he is. But Siegler was a guy who is much more emotional. Jahmai Jones is sort of that guy. You get a lot more vibes from these guys, for better or for worse. And you know what? You talk about the proving yourself. That 2021 draft, you go back and look at it, really bad first round. And was that byproduct of the COVID year before? Right. And, I mean, this was the 4th pick in the draft. So, yeah, crazy stuff.
I know this. 2 of the great potential buddy films in Red Sox history have been broken up. The Tolley Early duo and the Anthony Meyer duo. These were, we thought this would be, NESN content fodder for years to come. Now we'll have to.
You guys had a good run, though.
We did.
Yeah.
Lewis and Martin.
Yeah.
Google who that is for you. For any of you under 40, you can Google who that is. We'll take a break, come back. We're working our way towards President of Baseball Operations, Chief Baseball Officer Craig Breslow. He's going to talk in just a few minutes right there at Fenway Park. You'll hear it right here on NESN. All right, Curtis Mead is the guy we were talking about as the big acquisition. This, of course, his second plate appearance. And the last one he's had up to now after getting hit by that pitch, 95-mile-an-hour fastball from Perkins. A fracture in the wrist on the IL. He spoke about it the next day in Sacramento.
Yeah, challenging. Super disappointing. It kind of doesn't feel real that it's first game, and there'll be a break in between the next one. So.
Did you get up today feeling a lot worse and then get imaging?
Yeah. No, I did. I woke up pretty stiff and sore. Had a history of in 23 had a similar injury where the X-rays were negative, and then got an MRI. When I woke up today and it didn't feel a whole lot better, it was felt like it was the best next step.
Just to confirm, it's a broken wrist, like a fractured wrist.
Yeah. I'm flying back tonight to meet with the Boston hand specialist tomorrow, so hopefully, I don't know kind of the nuts and bolts of it, but should find all of that out hopefully in the next coming days.
In your mind, you're going to play again this season?
Yeah, I hope so, yeah.
How do you kind of wrap your mind around that? You felt pretty optimistic, obviously, leaving here yesterday, and now to have been dealt this blow, just how do you kind of absorb it?
Yeah, no, it's challenging. Definitely mentally challenging. Came here to kind of play and be with the group down the stretch. So yeah, it's definitely disappointing, but I'm hopeful that I can be back soon.
Did you get a initial diagnosis with how many weeks you're looking at here, or are you waiting to see the specialist to figure that out?
Yeah, I think the specialist hopefully should have the details. Not really sure on the timeline just yet, but yeah, hopefully find out in the next coming days.
How about the last time that you had this? What did that trajectory look like?
I can't really remember. There was some challenges. There was a longer period between the X-ray and the MRI. I can't really remember.
Was it an MRI that you got today that revealed the fracture?
Yeah.
All right, so you take a look at that deal, and that was a blockbuster. Right, and now you had a bigger one with Rutschman coming, so there's no doubt about it. The Red Sox have made their moves, and they have gone all in on this year.
No, but how about this? I was just thinking about that. It happened in Sacramento, which, as Alex can attest, well, and JP can attest too, it's not a lot of great things happen in Sacramento. You have that deal. Everyone's excited about it. And then you have the sad trombone of him getting hurt. But then, how do you respond to that? This is the microcosm of what we're talking about with his team. You responded by this big, huge acquisition that you gave up a very popular guy in Conley Early by going and sweeping the Dodgers. Again, another example of the resiliency of this team.
No doubt about that. We are waiting for Craig Breslow to sit down, and we will be bringing that to you. He is expected to meet any moment with the media, and he'll be talking about the moves he has made today. Rutschman and Rogers in a deal with the Orioles, Eli White from the Atlanta Braves, and the reliever Eric Miller from the San Francisco Giants in exchange for Marcelo Meyer. So a lot of work today by Craig Breslow and his front office. How tired is a front office when the trade deadline comes and goes? What did you do the day after?
Went back to work. I mean, it never stops, it just never ends. But, there's certain peaks and valleys in the season. There's certain highs and lows. And when you have a trading deadline like this is obviously a high. And, you just want to get to the ballpark tomorrow and be around the guys and, get the feeling. And obviously you get Rutschman there or you get him somewhere in the organization. But it's just exciting. Your team's winning. I mean, God, it's the best time to come to the ballpark.
Do you remember the deadline where you were the most satisfied, the most jacked up, whether it was in Oakland or Toronto?
Yeah, I mean, we had a lot of good runs in Oakland with a lot of stuff like that. And probably one of the biggest ones was when we traded for Cespedes. We were 3 games out from Washington. We traded for Cespedes. We played the Nationals. We swept the Nationals. And we just took off from there. And he really just was the guy that we needed and changed the whole dynamics of the club. So I've been a part of some really good ones, and I've been a part of some duds. So, you're in the game long enough, it's not all going to work out.
When the Red Sox acquired Cespedes in 2014, he did not change the whole dynamic.
No. Well, it depends on what Cespedes you got. We got good Cespedes.
Yeah. Who was really good.
Okay, Red Sox wrapping things up. The trade deadline has come and gone. They will get back to work tomorrow as they open up the homestand. Craig Breslow getting ready to speak with the media. We are waiting to bring that to you. That's expected to happen any moment. We'll take a break, come back with that as we roll on here on NESN. Take a look at what the Red Sox have acquired today at the trade line to go along with the Curtis Mead deal earlier. Adley Rutschman, Jake Rogers, Eli White, Eric Miller reporting just now out of New York saying the Yankees had conversations with the Orioles about Adley Rutschman. Brian Cashman confirmed, but they couldn't come to an agreement on the price. So if you're a Red Sox fan, you can feel twice as good about getting Adley Rutschman. Craig Breslow talking to the media. Let's hear what he has to say.
Felt like, as we looked to upgrade the team, that was an opportunity for us. And, in Adley, you get, impact on both sides of the ball. He's a premium defender, switch hitter. So, he's a great fit for our park. He doesn't strike out. He walks and gets on base. He can hit for damage. I think there's a ton to like about him.
Greg, do today's trades and the one you made last weekend, did they reflect a sort of shift in philosophy of being a little more aggressive and, quote, going for it this year rather than maybe what you've espoused the last couple of years of more sustainability and integrating prospects into the major league roster?
Probably not for me to characterize our approach outside of saying that over the last month and a half or so, this team has demonstrated just an incredible resilience and relentlessness, and put itself, kind of firmly in the playoff picture. And they deserved, and our fans deserve, our efforts, the efforts from the front office to try and find ways to make it better. And I don't think that necessarily has to exist in conflict or compete with sustainability. And I think when you look at the control that a lot of the guys had that we brought in, you can see a core of players that should be here for many years into the future.
If I could have a quick follow-up, Craig, was any of this motivated by looking at the American League in terms of competitiveness and seeing a rather wide open field where there was an opportunity for the team to make a deep run despite starting the season slowly?
The competitive environment it's part of the equation in that there are years where this record could be leading our division. There are years where we could be firmly out of the playoff picture. So I guess like implicitly it's part of the way that we approach this. But I think more it's just the way that these guys have played, the job that they've done on the field, the coaching staff, the way the fans have supported this team and the turnaround. We felt going into the season like we had a really competitive team. We are seeing it over the last month and a half, and we wanted to do everything that we could to give ourselves the best chance to go out and compete for a World Series.
Craig, as you went into this, did you see catching as the position you most wanted to improve, and was Adley your focus of this?
We went in with maybe casting a broad net over a few different ways that we could get better. I have found it's really difficult to try to predict the market or try to predict exactly what players will be available, especially this year when there are a lot of teams that still have playoff aspirations. So a lot of the work over the days leading up to today was just having incessant conversations with other teams, and just trying to understand what players might be available, what the costs might be, the way that those impact our club. But I do think this year our strategy was more about targeting players that met our needs and allowed us to upgrade areas that we felt like could be upgraded, and going out and targeting them and trying to be aggressive and bringing them in, as opposed to kind of sitting back and waiting for the market to come to us.
Hey, Craig, I'm wondering
about the Adley injury and a potential timetable for return.
Sorry, I think I missed the beginning of that, Chris.
Just about Adley's injury, where things stand, when you guys can expect him back, and I guess the plan for him the next few days.
Yeah, I talked to him earlier today, and at this point, like I am not going to try to put a timetable on what his return might look like. I think it's best for him to kind of get under our care, and get our medical staff, our athletic trainers, our doctors, hands on him, and from there we'll figure out what the right kind of course of action is here. But in talking to him, he's very optimistic, and he is saying that he feels quite a bit better.
Craig, I'm just wondering, as your negotiations with the Orioles neared completion and it was almost done, what were the deliberations like with you and your front office, you and ownership, about whether to make this jump and finalize it, getting that player and at that cost, and making that final decision?
Sure. I think what maybe as a group we tried to do was not react to kind of the final stages of negotiations or the final costs, but rather understand which players might provide upgrades, which players would be available, talk through kind of where we thought this was going to go, what our kind of tolerances were, keep ownership informed every step of the way, so that this didn't all come down to the final moment or the last turn of the screw. And I will say that, like, at this time of year, when you are trying to improve your team, there are not deals that are comfortable. You don't draw a line and say this is as far as we'll go, and that's kind of there's a bit of like a moving target, and you try to remain as disciplined as you can, but I think you have to constantly zoom out to remind yourself that like what you're trying to do is improve your major league team in this season.
And just to follow up, was it helpful for you guys to finish the Rutschman deal, quote unquote, early, and leave you more time to pursue other things and also consummate two other trades?
Yeah, I think every person who sits in my chair says, this will be the trade deadline where we'll get deals done early, we'll be aggressive, and it seems just kind of like inevitably things go down to the wire. But yeah, being able to work through that earlier in the day did give us both clarity on on that situation and the catching situation more broadly, and then also the opportunity to look elsewhere at other ways to improve the team.
Greg, when it comes to Adley's wrist injury, is there any concern there on your part? A and B, obviously with next year being the last year of his deal, is there an impetus to begin negotiations with him at this point in time?
Yeah, like I said, the first things that we need to do are to get him here, get him comfortable with our medical staff, make sure that transition of care is as smooth as possible. And then from there, we'll figure out, exactly what the future looks like. But we want to get him as comfortable as possible. We want to get to know him and give him a chance to get to know us.
Greg, so Marcelo Meyer has been obviously a big part of this organization, in the future for a long time. So what kind of went into the decision to trade him today? And what do you hope to see from Eric now that you have him on board?
Yeah, it was tough to include him in a deal, and it's tough to include any of the players that we had sent out because we have relationships with them. We've watched their development. In many cases, we've drafted them or signed them internationally. And speaking about Marcelo, he's a really big part of this, or he was a really big part of this organization, and someone that was looked upon to be part of a core. And I still think that's going to happen. It's going to happen with the San Francisco Giants at this point. But he's an incredibly talented player. And what we saw was an opportunity to get a back end reliever with control who throws from the left side with huge stuff, generates a ton of swings and misses, and gets a ton of strikeouts. And as you think about a bullpen down the stretch and in potentially into the postseason, the ability to bring guys in who can get swings and misses and shorten the game when relievers are available almost every night because of the schedule becomes really, really valuable.
Right. How did you say? Oh, yeah, go ahead. Just along those lines with Meyer, you had acquired last week Curtis Mead, infielder, and had been, according to multiple people, in on a lot of other shortstops in the league. I'm just curious what that says about what you thought about Meyer's future here, and just knowing, and also with the rise of Franklin Arias, right, in AAA, of kind of how that affected everything in negotiations with him.
Yeah, I think it's important to separate what Marcelo's future with the organization would have been if he were still here from decisions that we would make in the short term. Marcelo was obviously recovering from an injury and not on the field right now. But like I said, I still think he is an incredibly talented player, and he's going to have a very successful major league career. This is something that made sense, in our minds, and something that made sense, I assume, for the Giants. And so we were able to make a trade, but in no way is this an indictment of Marcelo. And I think in some ways it's probably a credit to the player development group and the organization that we were able to make this trade and still feel like we've got players in-house or who are able to fill a major league shortstop role.
Craig, you talked about after the Mead trade, not necessarily feeling like you needed to win them, but to make your team better. Do you feel like you got out of a comfort zone in this cycle in ways that you wouldn't have been comfortable doing in previous cycles, whether in the offseason or the deadline?
I think anybody who makes a trade, especially nowadays when front offices are largely pulling from the same information and using a lot of the same tools, it's uncomfortable. It's always going to be uncomfortable. And I think maybe when they feel comfortable, you look up in 6 months or a year and realize you should have been a lot more uncomfortable with it. But I do think, the position that our team is right now, the opportunity that we believe we have in front of us, it warranted being aggressive and meaningfully improving our outlook, and we're hopeful that we did that today.
How does Eli White fit in? And then in terms of the fact you have a lot of different outfielders, how do you see that playing out?
Yeah, Trace and I have talked through that and feel like he gives us, kind of a right-handed option to get Sedan a day if he needs it. He can really, really defend. And, if we wanted to give Willie or Jaron a day, can throw him out there and feel like we're not missing a beat defensively. He can change a game with his defense. He can change a game with his speed. And we think that he'll give a good at bat as well. So there are ways to make this work. We are going to do that and feel like he adds another level of athleticism to what I think has become the identity of this team.
Craig, on Adley for a second. In regard to his ability to receive and work with pitchers and his defensive metrics, how big of a factor was that in acquiring him? And given how well the pitching staff had thrown to Wong and Narváez through the majority of the season, was there any concern about mixing things up there and bring him in? And why is he a guy that you're comfortable with?
Yeah, anytime you introduce someone into a clubhouse in the middle of a season, you take some risk. But I also think we did as much work as we possibly could. Had some overlap in terms of staff who had known Adley and got incredibly high marks for the makeup, for the leadership, for the type of teammate and person that he is. And so I think the short answer is yes. You certainly think about trying to minimize any potential disruption to the group, but also felt like everything that we learned about Adley pointed us to him being able to step in and build relationships with the coaches and the pitching staff and settle right into our infrastructure.
Do you envision, Craig, that Arias could help the team down the stretch?
I hate to put those types of expectations on a 20-year-old. What I am very excited to say is that every challenge that he has faced, he's met, which is pretty incredible for someone his age and what he's done, at each level. I just feel like we'll continue to take note of what he's doing. We'll continue to put him in the best development environment that we can. And if he is the person who can help us, then we'll have that conversation when it comes time.
Greg, in terms of the prospects that you've been able to trade, go ahead, Sean.
You added in the outfield and the bullpen and behind the plate. You did not do anything to increase the depth in the rotation. Was that a goal that maybe you just kind of ran out of time with? Did you come close on something there? And how do you feel about how you're situated starting pitching wise and depth wise for the final 2 months?
Yeah, we had a lot of conversations, and certainly we cast a pretty wide net. We're mindful of the workload that our starting pitchers are taking on, but also feel like we do have some depth, whether that's kind of currently in the big leagues and you see the job that Bayo's done pitching out of the pen, and also in AAA. And another way to lessen the load on starting pitchers is to add depth to your bullpen and the ability to shorten games and maybe not feel the need, Trace and Bales not feel the need to push a starter through an extra inning or to get back out there because we can turn the ball over to trusted arms in the bullpen is another way to do it.
Craig, in the last 10 days, you've traded early, you've traded Eyanson, you've traded Witherspoon. How do you feel? How uncomfortable is it to trade that degree of pitching, and what permits you to do so?
It's very uncomfortable. There is no such thing as having too much starting pitching. And those guys that you mentioned are really, really talented. We saw what Connolly could do in the big leagues. We saw what Anthony could do, kind of tearing through the minor leagues. And Kyson has a huge ceiling. Was obviously a first rounder just last year. But I also think that some of the other arms in the organization who have taken a step forward give us the ability to make moves like this. And that's a credit to a lot of people in the organization, from scouting to player development. And so, you you're always uncomfortable when you move this type of talent, but we have to lean on, we have to believe in our ability to continue to help identify players and get the most out of them, and ultimately, kind of allow them to reach the major leagues and contribute there.
Craig, in your experience, what is it like as a former major league pitcher yourself? What's it like getting familiar with a new catcher at this point in the season?
Yeah, it's not nothing, but I also wouldn't want to overstate it. These guys are professionals, and they've thrown to different catchers, whether that was because of injury or performance or whatever the case is. I think what it comes down to is building relationships and trust. And like I said, everything that we've learned about Adley is he is fantastic at doing that. And I think we've seen time and time again that Andrew Bailey is incredible at fostering those relationships, at eliciting confidence in the information and the game planning and the advanced process. And ultimately, we have a really talented pitching staff that's got a pretty good idea of what their strengths are and what their identities are. And so I'm confident that they're going to be able to figure that out.
So that wouldn't have been something that would kind of give you pause when you have a pitching staff that's pitching as well as it is, to say, we don't want to, that's not really how kind of the mindset works for you guys?
It's a non-zero consideration, but like when you have the chance to get Adley Rutschman, you do it and then you figure out the rest.
Craig, when it comes to that end, when you chatted with or conferred with former Orioles personnel who knew Adley that you have, I can think of Holt. Who else would you have or did you get insight from during that process?
Yeah, I mean, I think those conversations are best to keep internal and obviously happen all the time. But I think fair to say that we have extreme confidence that we've got a pretty good idea of who Adley is and how much we'll benefit from having him in the clubhouse and from having him behind the plate.
Craig, what can you tell us about Carlos Gutierrez, the prospect you got from the Giants?
Yeah, he was a guy that our scouting department had identified. I think exciting, maybe like kind of under the radar, left-handed bat, right-handed thrower. Signed out of Mexico. Good job by San Francisco, because we're excited, and really appreciate the talent. 21 years old, almost 22, and really excited, about what he brings.
With Adley's offense, it obviously hadn't been as 2023 was his last big year, and this beginning of this year he started off hot in April, but doesn't seem to have sustained the same success as he had in April. Like, what gives you confidence that he's the bat that can that he can be that bat for your lineup?
Yeah, I think if you kind of look at the performance a little bit more under the hood, you see really strong bat to ball, really good ball flight relative to previous seasons, which gives us some excitement about his ability to do damage in our park. Consistently good strikeout rates, walking, getting on base, and then when we look at some things like like xWOBA and some of the quality of contact, you get a lot more excited than what kind of the top line stats might look like.
What did the potential returns of Garrett Crochet and Roman Anthony and the likely return of Trevor Story, what did that play, if any, in terms of your deliberations and pulling the trigger here at the deadline?
Yeah, not too much, for no real reason other than we felt like these were moves that made sense. They made sense with those guys coming back. They made sense if their returns are delayed. And we're going to get better when those guys come back. But in the meantime, like, it's really important that we continue to win, and we felt like the moves that we made today give us a much better chance of doing that.
A year ago, Craig, we were talking about Narváez as your catcher of the future and this great find and all that type of stuff. How tough was it to have to give him up? And also, how do you see that position shaking out the next couple weeks? I assume a lot of Wong starting.
So really tough to trade Narvi. In addition to what he's provided on the field, and certainly he'll be the first to admit that he struggled a bit, to start this season. He's just an incredible guy, and we saw how much he cares about the team. When you think about what he, playing through a torn meniscus last year, and having surgery scheduled in the day after, he walked off the field, or limped off the field, I guess, and just saying, no, like, I'm just going to keep playing. And so, it's hard to say enough really good things about Narvi. But like I said, this was part of what was required in order to get this deal done. So we did it, and over the next couple of weeks, we'll get through it and give Adley a chance to kind of get back to full strength. Fortunately, Connor has he's caught a bulk of games recently. He's got a ton of familiarity with the staff. I think we're seeing some of the offensive upside. And then with Jake Rogers, have another kind of major league catcher with a ton of experience, and so feel like we are well equipped to handle this.
Craig, was any work done on the shortstop market externally? And similar to the question about the starting pitching, how do you feel about what you have in Boston right now?
Yeah, right. Unsurprisingly, not going to get too far into the details of conversations that happened elsewhere. Outside of saying that we looked, we looked across the industry at different ways to get better. Ultimately, we have Mona, who's been doing a fantastic job at shortstop right now. We've got Isaiah, who is nearing a return. Trevor, who's nearing a return. We've got Franklin in AAA. So we do feel like we are, we're comfortable with the options that we have, and we're gonna handle the shortstop position. I think in a way that's going to help us win games. And so, like I said, that's a number of major league shortstops and a really exciting young player. So we feel pretty good about where we are there.
Craig, in general, how difficult is it to balance not wanting to mess up a really, really good thing that you've got going with the current team that you had before the deadline, and recognizing that there were areas where you wanted to improve, and kind of just not wanting to, rock the boat, but also wanting to kind of improve the boat?
Yeah, that is something that was top of mind for me. Having played and lived through a number of trade deadlines on both sides, teams that where we were winning and had expectations of additions coming, and teams where we knew that some of our players were likely to go to teams more competitive in the standings. And so we thought about the identity of the team and the relationships and the way that the group had come together over the last couple of months, and wanted to make sure that if we were going to introduce anything that might disrupt that the talent that we were bringing in made it very, very clear. We didn't want to go through a deadline where we just kind of rearranged the chairs, but didn't actually get better and introduce the possibility of messing with the culture and the environment. So it is a real consideration, and it's one that we took really seriously.
Craig, looking out at the landscape of the American League post deadline and what you were able to do here, how do you feel, about your chances when it comes to getting to a World Series and having the type of success the group wants to have?
Yeah, so we feel good about our team. They deserve the confidence that we have in them. And we did everything that we could today to try and improve that outlook. Ultimately, this can't be about what other teams do, or how other teams play. It's got to be about looking at our roster and trying to build the most complete roster we can. We think about this being kind of the last time that you can really add talent to a roster. And so, we wanted to make sure that we cast as wide a net as we possibly could. We were aggressive in bringing players in, and we were positioning ourselves to reach our objective, which is to try and win a World Series.
Anything else for Craig?
Just logistically, Craig, you expect everybody there tomorrow?
We're working through that. I was inside all day, so didn't realize. It seems like there was maybe bad weather out there, or is bad. I'm not totally sure. But we'll have to figure out the travel logistics, and obviously we're kind of beholden to the airlines on that.
Yeah, someone tell Craig it rained all day. You didn't. It was a good day to have a trade deadline, and you could just be stuck inside all day. Some reaction from Baltimore before we wrap it up and say goodbye. Word coming up on the trade of Adley Rutschman to the Red Sox. These are from President Baseball Officer Mike Elias, as reported by Jake Rill. It is an incredibly emotional moment to have Adley depart the organization in this way. I just want to thank him very, very much. He's a wonderful human being. We love his family. This is an unfortunate reality of the business of Major League Baseball. And Melanie Newman reporting that Adley in the same division. It's a weird look when you're trading in the division. As it happened, a lot of the teams looking for catching at the deadline were in the East. The Red Sox are sending a lot of talent our way, too. You've done this. You've been through these deadlines. You try to not move him right in the division, but if you got to do it for the best haul, you got to do it.
Sometimes the best situation that's set up for you is in your own division, and you have to take advantage of that. And, you know, it's just the way it plays out. You can't be afraid to deal them either in the division. I mean, you don't even know if they're going to stay there that long. They might get moved again. So you got to make the best move for your team.
We just watched everything Craig Breslow had to say. I mean, outside of going tarps off and taking a victory lap, he's got to feel pretty good about things, because the final sort of criticism of Craig Breslow was, can he pull off a trade deadline? And he certainly has.
We've gone through these post-deadline press conferences, and it looks a lot of them look like they had a baseball bat taken on them. Like, really, they're tired, they're worn down, they're probably a little bit defeated. They weren't able to get stuff done. And Craig Breslow, I think, starting with the Mead acquisition, feels pretty good about things. And my biggest takeaway, guys, is how he said that we changed it where we identify guys and we aggressively went at them instead of waiting for the market to come to us. And it goes back to what we said earlier. I think this guy has learned a lot over the last couple of years, and good for him for accepting that and using it today.
And he's done a lot to build up the system, which is allowing you to make these moves.
And the other thing is, he's learning that you can't fall in love with your own prospects. You've got to be willing to move them. There's a reason why you accumulate them, and there's a reason why you can use them. And I think he's learning the value of having those prospects and being able to move them.
All right, Red Sox made moves today, no doubt about it. Rutschman, we'll see when they all show up here. But Eli White and the pitcher out of San Francisco, Eric Miller, thank you. It's been a long day.
It wasn't Barney Miller.
Again, look that up. Look that one up, too.
Carl Hubble.
Carl Hubble.
I got a great Carl Hubble story. I'll tell you later.
All right. We're going to take a chance to say goodbye here while we can. Been a long couple of days leading up to this, but in the end, the Red Sox feel they have made some moves that make them a legitimate contender for the American League pennant, and that's what this day is all about. Hope you've enjoyed our coverage of the trade deadline. We are back at it tomorrow at 6 with our pregame show at Fenway.